What is going on, everybody? How are we doing today? I know kind of throwing you off your schedule a little bit today with a mid-morning stream, but that's okay. This is how we do things here. This is United versus Everybody. I am your host, Sean. Do appreciate you guys for stopping by today. We've got all sorts of fun little things coming out this morning, little odds and ends here, but obviously some big rumors, big reports coming out. We're going to talk a little transfer news, but the big news today has to do with a certain Marcus Rashford. So we're going to dive right into that. I want everyone's thoughts on that. Danny, good to see you, my guy. How are you? Actually, let's go ahead and start. I'm going to throw this in the background. I'm going to check back with it later. So get involved here, and then I'm going to go ahead and check that a little later on. But how are you guys doing this morning? What's everybody getting up to? Let me know how everyone's day is going. It is 11 where I am. I know some of you are watching from all over the world, so let me know what you guys are doing. Like the video, please subscribe to the channel. If you are new, please make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any content like live streams, like giveaways and things like that. We are on the road to 3K now. You absolute legends got us to 2K this week, so couldn't be more thankful and more proud of the community for the support, the engagement. It's all because of you. This is your channel. I'm just here to kind of facilitate the chat. So appreciate that, everybody. I will announce the winner of the shirt giveaway in my match preview tomorrow. We're doing the Europa League preview of our match against Victoria Pleasant. So I will announce the winner tomorrow. So if you want to see who wins, if you want to get involved in these giveaways, just the best way is to get involved in the channel. Just comment, get involved in the chat, like, subscribe, all that stuff. We'll do it live. It'll be completely random. You guys will see what I'm talking about. We're going to do that. So be sure to come back tomorrow for the shirt giveaway winner announcement. It is a 21-22 large. It is brand new. It is the home shirt from the 21-22 season, if you guys can't tell. I kept it wrapped because you guys will probably want it to stay nice. So I can't guarantee there won't get a random dog hair on it or something if I don't keep it wrapped. So speaking of jerseys, though, it's been a while since I reminded you guys, but if you are looking for jerseys and you don't want to spend $100, $150 on one from the club shop, go check out GoGoalShop. I know you guys have heard me talk about GoGoalShop before. I've got a couple of shirts from them. They're excellent shirts. There is a link in the description, too, if you want to not only not spend a ton of money, but if you also want to get $5 off your order when you register, use the code, use the link in the video description, and you'll get $5 off that first order when you use it to register on the site. So big up GoGoalShop for hooking me up with that. So while you guys are all here, of course, you saw it in the thumbnail. Of course, you've probably seen some of the news coming out. Let's get your thoughts. We've got potentially big updates coming out this morning. So this is coming from a couple different journalists now. So it started off coming from Florian Plettenberg, also known as Plettigol on Twitter, and Sky Sports Germany, that the news, the reports, the rumors, speculation is that Manchester United could sell Marcus Rashford at the latest by this summer and would already be open to big offers in January transfer window. Combine the word winter and window. That's fun. Plettenberg goes on and says the club acknowledged his development under Ruben Amorim. What development? But they also consider him not unsellable. One reason why his sale is being discussed, if he were to leave the club due to his very high salary, it would free up critical points in the complicated FFP PSR system, which would also give us more room to maneuver in the transfer market. He is on a lot of money. We did sign that new contract, so it could give us some room. Danny says, big offers from where? Well, we know that PSG was interested in him. Their president has confirmed as much, but that was a couple of years ago. Obviously, we're not going to get as much for him now as we would have if we decided to sell him, but I don't think anybody would have been as open to selling him on the tail end of that season. Now, the problem with Rashford is he's on that contract as well. He would have been more open to a lot bigger offers had we not pretty much doubled his wages almost. So we've made it harder, and Rashford hasn't helped the situation by his form taking a complete nosedive, like I said. But Danny says 30 mil, get him gone. Yikes. Danny is a savage, man, but I'm here for it. So Luke Edwards, who is also the Manchester area correspondent for The Telegraph, he's kind of reiterated the report and added his own little odds and ends. He's added that United were actually even open to selling Rashford last summer as well. So a lot of talk. It seems like we are getting some interest from Rashford. We obviously, again, we know PSG interested in him. I know I saw a report somewhere that Saudi clubs could come in for him as well. There's a lot of options, but this has been a hot topic for over a year now, since Rashford signed that new contract. Like I said, his form took a complete nosedive since. His contract runs to 2028. He's on 300K a week, potentially rising to 375K a week with bonuses included. So it's that's a high salary. There's not many clubs in football that can afford to pay those wages. When that, because that is a factor, you have to then that really narrows down a lot of clubs. Juve is not going to be able to rock that. Inter is not going to be able to rock that. There are maybe a couple clubs in the Premier League who could afford it, but they probably wouldn't, because like Newcastle are a rich club, but they're not going to shatter everything they've been building in terms of that. They haven't spent a ton, Newcastle, but I just don't think, in terms of Manchester United is concerned, it's looking more and more like he's not going to fit this system very well. It was one thing to play in a Ten Hag system and have your form take a nosedive because there's still a spot in the system, but it's another thing to try to adapt to a whole different system that we don't really play with players like him. It's just he's not very good working in tight areas. His game is pace and space, and we're not going to see that, and it's a little redundant sometimes. So I just don't think there's a place for him. Again, I think I've said a couple times, I think having Højlund and Rashford in the same system is a bit redundant, unless you want to completely switch to like a 3-5-2 in some matches. I just don't see Rashford having to be a link-up player. I think he's not great in that situation. I think Xerxes' profile as a striker works with Rashford. I think that playing off of Xerxes and having room to run into and playing that link-up does work well. We saw it against Everton, but the question is, then you have to add the inconsistency and the poor form of Xerxes into the equation. So that duo works when both players are playing well, but we haven't seen that enough. We saw it one match against Everton. So it's interesting. I've seen people say that selling Rashford would almost be like a sacrificial lamb situation as well. Like, would this send a message to the rest of the squad that, your wages, your status at the club, how much you paid for your academy product, it sends a message that doesn't matter. Nobody is untouchable. If you're not performing, you will be sold. And some people saying that could be the thing. I don't think that's the intent. I don't think that's the reason why we would be open to selling him if these reports are true. But it could also be kind of a knockdown effect of that, kind of like a little side effect. It does also send that message, whether that was the purpose or not. I think that nobody should be untouchable at the club. I don't care if it's someone like even Bruno, for instance, who just signed a new contract. If Bruno all of a sudden just dipped in form and stopped performing like he has been, then you have to consider that, plus Bruno's age as well. I've seen some people that aren't happy that a lot of fans have been this critical of Rashford, and we are just this open and even vehement about selling him in the first place. I think that I can sympathize to that regard, right? He's Manchester born, came through the academy. He plays in a position that United fans really do get excited about. We love attacking players. We love wingers at the club. Seems like a perfect situation. Like, all the math is adding up there. But and I'm not saying I don't have a soft spot for Rashford because of all those things as well. But unfortunately, I care more about the club, and it just hasn't quite worked out. And the quality, both the mental quality and the footballing quality, need to be considered ahead of where he was born and raised, which academy he came through, what position he plays in, even wages and stuff. All that, I mean, if you're hurting the team, if you're not helping the team, that's got to be a factor. I think that using the academy label in this argument is a bit lazy for people who say, well, he came through the academy, so we can't. That doesn't matter. I've said it many times. Just because you come through the academy doesn't mean you're good enough. There's a lot of players who've come through and gone, and people didn't have a problem with it then, but all of a sudden it's Marcus Rashford, and people are starting to have a problem. Now, I'm saying all this, and it sounds like I'm like, sell him, like I can't stand him. I don't have any personal issues with Rashford. It's just, I look at him like any other player right now. And so the question, if he wasn't in the academy, would these people feel the same way? If it was some random person that we signed, like, nobody cares about Antony. I mean, everyone wants Antony gone. Has he been playing any better or worse than Rashford? I don't think that coming from the youth setup excuses a player from the standards that we want to instill or grants them impunity from criticism. We're allowed to criticize. We're allowed to share our opinions on things. We're allowed to discuss these things after the fact. If we think a player had a bad match, we can call it out. If we think they made a mistake, we can call it out. If we don't think they're good enough, we can call it out. That's our right as people, as fans, whoever. We're not scapegoating Rashford for everything going on. Poor season is not Rashford's fault. It's just not. Just like Garnacho, we could be critical of what we see and what we're not seeing, and more importantly, it's that simple. What are we saying here in the chat? Let me get caught up. Danny says Bayern could make a low offer. But yeah, Bayern's on my list of of clubs that could do it. Lionheart's, welcome back, bud. I was wondering where you went to, but yes, congrats on 2K, says Lionheart. Thank you. It is, it's been a crazy ride so far, but it's all down to you guys getting involved in the chat, making things happen, helping the community grow. I love it. I truly appreciate it. You guys are all getting involved, showing the love in the chat. So on Rashford, here's the thing, right? He's 27 now, right? He's a leader. He should be a leader, both in the dressing room and on the pitch. He should be setting an example for younger players. He should be the one that Garnacho looks to for, the standards, for guidance, for the model of what you're supposed to be, both as a professional, both as a young man, whatever you want to call it. Like these Rashford's of an age, Rashford, your Brunos, these are guys who are supposed to be that role in the dressing room. Your Casemiros, your Mizrawis, even your Onanas. They're old enough. They've been there for a while. They get the club. But as a player, would you look to Rashford for any of that stuff? Some of the stuff he did, especially last season. Last season, he kind of went on one a little bit. And I'm not going to dig him out for stuff. I'm just saying some of the behavior that we saw from Rashford was not, to me, indicative of a guy who's, in a good place. Responding to people online in the middle of the night, calling out YouTube channels, going off and doing I don't care if you go to watch a basketball game or whatever. I don't care about that kind of stuff. I'm talking about last season kind of stuff. But he should be a leader. And unfortunately, you've got this mentality issue in the squad that we've talked about many times. Like way back when, even when Ryan Giggs, for example, when Ryan Giggs was a young professional, a young player, he made wholesale changes to his lifestyle at a younger age than Rashford is now, because he looked at what he wanted his career to be. And he knew that if you wanted to have a good career, you had to make sacrifices. You had to stop doing certain things. Sometimes you have to stop hanging out with certain people. He stopped going out to clubs and partying and all that stuff when he got to a certain age. And he just decided to buckle down. Even when he got older, when he was older than Rashford, he was making all sorts of sacrifices and changes to prolong his career. He started doing yoga. He started meeting with nutritionists, acupuncture, all this kind of stuff to just get more out of, because he cared about, look at Cristiano Ronaldo, the way he takes care of himself, the way he prioritizes his playing career. These are the kind of things you have to make. These are the kind of decisions you have to make. These are the kind of sacrifices that you have to make as a professional, because that is the term that I've said many times, that it seems like some footballers nowadays forget that it's not just footballer, it's professional footballer. There's a professional standard that comes along with it. Rashford on the pitch, Rashford shouldn't be making the same mistakes that he's been making since his first few years coming through. He shouldn't be making the bad decision making. He shouldn't be making the bad touches, running into space, running the ball out of touch all the time. He shouldn't be doing these kind of things. What we're seeing from him, though, is pretty much what we're going to get. It's hard, like we said about McTominay, like we said about Lingard. It's hard to all of a sudden just get a lot of that stuff out of him. At this point in his career, it's more about just where can he go, and is the place I'm at right now going to get the best out of what I am as a footballer? I don't think that's going to be the case anymore. I think that at the end of the day, it's too bad. I don't think in the ideal world anybody would want to sell Rashford. It's just too bad that he couldn't sustain the form he had a couple seasons ago. It's too bad he couldn't keep that kind of rise in form and his numbers, because he was rising in numbers. If you look at his numbers, it's too bad he couldn't keep that going. And it's too bad that it is a bit of a mental thing for him. I don't know if I'd go down the route of celebrating selling him, like just kicking him out and stuff. I'm not, like, everybody's entitled to their opinion. I'm not going to go that route, but you guys let me know. I did put a poll in the chat. See what everybody is saying so far. 83% say that they would sell Rashford. 17% say no, they're not going to sell Rashford. I'll end the poll there. So, vast majority of you would sell Rashford. It seems like a lot. Sometimes it's hard when there's a little bit of a recency bias, but again, the last 2 years is not a recency bias, right? The last 2 years is what it is, and it hasn't been good enough. How much do you think we should get for him? Danny already said 30 million. Take him. I think 2 seasons ago you probably could have gotten 100 million for Rashford easily from PSG. I think you very easily could have done that. Um, Now PSG are a little bit over a barrel in some ways because they lost Mbappe for free, and that hurt them. But they're also desperate, so we could maybe squeeze a little more out of them. That comes down to the negotiation as well. But what's a fair price, do you think, for Rashford? Try not to let your recency bias influence you. Try just to say what's a fair price. Again, probably not as high as it was, a little while ago, but Danny says Onana out the door as well. If any more costly mistakes, give VTech a chance next year. I think Onana, he had a bad game. We're not gonna dismiss that at all against Forest. I don't know what he was doing for that Gibbs White goal. Honestly, I mean, and that's not all on Onana personally. Obviously, the keeper is going to get a lot of blame because usually, they're the last line of defense. But Bruno gave away that poor pass that was like 2 yards behind Lenny Yoro, I think it was. And then where was the rest of the defense? Gibbs White carried that ball like 15 yards, had nothing but space and time on the edge of our box to pick his shot. He was literally smack dab in the middle of the center of the goal, and he just had nothing. But where were the rest of the defenders? Where was Delit? Where was Martinez? Where was everyone else? And it's hard. I feel for keepers. So I think Onana wouldn't be getting as much stick for that goal had it been anywhere else, right? Other than right at him. I think that is where he gets it. But then the Chris Wood goal too. I don't know what he was doing for the Chris Wood goal. He and Leach, I think, are at fault for that one for sure. But Lionheart says I'm in the 16%. I believe you might be the 16%. I think there were only like 6 or 7 votes, so that just might be you, my guy. But if you're not want to sell him, you let us know why would you keep him, Lionheart? I want to know your thoughts. Danny B says 35, 40 million, good deal for Rashford. You could probably get 60, honestly. I think you could easily get 60, 65 million for Rashford. Look at like Olise. Olise, yes, he's a good player, but how many years has Olise been performing? Only a couple years, and Bayern are willing to spend. I don't even remember what Bayern spent on him. How much did they spend on Olise after just a couple promising seasons in the Premier League? I think that you've got someone like Rashford who is experienced and who has had many good seasons. He's not done great this season and last season, but he has had many good seasons. And I think that there are clubs who are going to look at it and say, you know what, we believe in Rashford. We've seen what he can do. He's still young enough, and we think it has more to do with the environment and the culture and all the shit that's gone down at United than anything else. We think that he needs a new environment, a change of scenery, and we'll get the best out of him. And I think that's what some clubs are going to look at. Obviously, there are clubs who are also going to look at him as a marketable asset, from a pure, I guess if you want to use the term shirt sellers, that term is, to me, is not super accurate because you don't make money from shirt selling basically as a club. But for argumentative sake, that kind of idea, the marketable personality at a club. And I think Rashford can be that for some clubs. He'd definitely go and be that at like a PSG kind of thing. He goes to Bayern, he can link back up with Olise. Harry Kane is still there. Eric Dyer still at Bayern? Minton Company, obviously, he knows pretty well. He's played against him. Lionheart says Onana has been our best player this season. I would argue that Mazraoui and Ugarte and Ahmad are all up there as well, ahead of Onana. I think that just because I'm not saying Onana is bad, so I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying that just because Onana he has improved his shot stopping this season up until the Forest game. To me, that doesn't mean he's been like one of our best players. His shot stopping before this season was garbage. He's kind of back to where you'd expect it to be for a keeper at this level, right? And he's still, to me, he doesn't come off his line good enough on set pieces. Now, some set pieces he's not going to get to. Like if a ball's coming in a low in swinger to the near post, a keeper can't reach that. But he should be doing more to come off his line in these situations. And his distribution has not been great this season if you want to deep those numbers. He has, up until recently, he's been, in terms of preventing goals, he led the league in like preventing goals, right? And obviously the clean sheet stuff. I don't like to credit only the keepers for clean sheets. You guys know that. But I hear what you're saying. He's been good. but I think improving on what was last year has gotten him to like a neutral point. I need to see more from him. He's 28 years old. Um, and yeah, Lionheart's like you're saying, the Forest, some of that Forest stuff, it was unfortunate. It is what it is. Um, but yeah, VTech, yeah, Danny Lionheart agrees. I would definitely bring VTech back, and I would probably let go of Bindier in the summer, if not January. Maybe keep Heaton for the next 6 months. But VTech should definitely be given a run as the number two, maybe rotate for some League Cups and whatnot. Kind of like what Louis Van Gaal did with Sergio Romero. I'm not saying constant rotation, but we've not done well with young academy keepers recently. I don't think we should have let go of Matty Kovar. I think that if we were planning to release David De Gea and not renew the contract, we should have kept Matty Kovar. He did great on his loan with Sparta Prague. He did really, really well with Leverkusen last year. He's a very good keeper, Matty Kovar. But it is what it is. Rich, United TV, welcome, my friend. How are you doing today? He says they should be able to get a big transfer fee for Rashford. It depends on a couple things, right? How he continues to perform. Obviously, if he continues to decline, the cost will decline. The price tag, if he performs, and also it's going to depend on the club. Someone like a Newcastle might not pay as much as someone like a PSG or a Saudi club or something. I don't even know how much money Saudi clubs can pay right now, and I'm not sure. I know they increased the number of foreign players at the Saudi league, but the whole Saudi league is not loaded with cash. It's kind of like other leagues where there are like a handful of clubs in that league who are allotted more of that money than others, and so it would be like your Al Hilal, your Al Nasser kind of thing, your Al Ittihad kind of stuff, and not just like the random ones. But yeah, big up, Rich. Good to see you this morning, my friend. Lionheart says, my heart says keep Rashi, but my head knows he needs to go. Yeah, I think that there's a whole other side of the Rashford debate that I think is easy to neglect, and that's the player's side, right? He's had to go through a lot of different managers. He's had to play a lot of different systems. He's had to go from leading the line to not leading the line. He's had to go through different systems who want him to do more backtracking, different systems who want to go more counterattacking. He's had to do a lot of things. And I think from Rashford's point of view, he's at 27 right now. He might be at an age where he's just like, I just want to go play my way of playing football. I want to go to a club that's set up to the way I want to play. There might be even a club who looks at him and says, we're going to build around you for the next 4 or 5 years or whatever. He might get that. It is what it is. I think that PSG could be a good fit. Bayern could be a good fit. Kingsley Coman is pretty injury prone. Serge Gnabry is pretty old. Leroy Sané might be leaving. So they've really got Tell and they've got Olise at Bayern. So they could be down a couple wingers at Bayern. Obviously, PSG lost Mbappe. Rashford was kind of Mbappe light for a while in terms of space and pace kind of a situation. Maybe he could come in and help them out. Who knows? Lionheart says, okay, Onana has been one of our best. He's been one of the best. But is that saying more about Onana though, or more about where we are right now in terms of the standard and the performances and the levels that we've seen from these players? If Onana can kind of get back to a neutral spot as a 28-year-old Champions League final goalkeeper, mind you. He was in the Champions League final, the best keeper in that tournament that year. And we're calling that, like, it used to be a thing about like David De Gea. Why is David De Gea being called man of the match? Why is David De Gea being up there for like player of the season? How bad does everyone else have to be at the club for that to be the case, right? I'm not trying to bash Onana. I'm just saying like that's where we are right now. And that's really not a good look when you take that into consideration, right? Danny says, not sold on Onana. Him trying to give him a chance, but I can't see him there long. I mean, he's not going to be long term. He was 26, 27 when we bought him. Like Danny, I started a career mode the other day with United, and the first thing I go through and I add a bunch of players to transfers. I've got like 4 keepers on that transfer list right now because I'm probably going to be replacing Onana. I did just finish my January transfer window, so I've locked up deals in the summer for João Gomez and Baris Yilmaz at Galatasaray. So I swapped Shaw and Cash for João Gomez. Danny, you'll like to hear that. Danny B says, VTech be better than Kovar. You think he'll be better? We'll see. I know I forget where he went now. Wasn't it like a Romanian club or something? I can't remember off the top of my head. But remind me of where he's doing. I'll have to look him up and see how he's doing. Maybe I'll and maybe instead of doing a little mini scout report in the next video, I'll update everybody on how VTech's doing. I'll check out afterwards. Lionheart says there might be a swap deal possible with Rashford. Swap. Who would you at PSG, at Bayern? Who would you swap for? Let me know what you have in mind, Lionhearts. But yeah, you guys voted. You guys would say that you would sell Rashford. Sounds like Lionhearts was the odd man out in keeping him, but that's okay. I think that, as I've said before, it's going to be more down to Rashford wanting to leave than anything. But where would he go? What club would be a good fit? What do you guys think? PSG, Bayern, any Premier League teams you think you can go to? I think maybe Arsenal. Maybe he fits at Arsenal on that left side. Martinelli is basically the same player as Rashford. Is Rashford better than Martinelli? They signed Sterling, didn't they, in the summer? Has Sterling even played for them? I could also easily see Todd Boehly trying to bring him to Chelsea, if I'm quite honest. I would not be shocked at all if we got to the summer and we saw that Todd Boehly is putting in an offer for Rashford. I would not be shocked at all. I don't even think Rashford would turn that down. You get to go hang out with Sancho a little bit, get to go live in London. I don't know. I would take Madueke off their hands if they wanted Rashford personally, but let me see. Oh, he's in Austria. All right, I'll go look him up after this and see how he's doing. There's so many people that we have in the academy, so many players. It's hard for me to keep track of all of them mentally. I'm to start using my phone for some of that. Lionheart says, so do you think VTech could be the long-term number one? I don't know as of yet. I know that I thought that Kovar could have been the long-term number one. Personally, I think that he's a very good keeper. I did a scouting report on him a while back. His numbers are good. His profile. Kovar is very dominant in his box, which you guys know is one of my top priorities for goalkeeper. That's your box. That's yours. And anything that comes in there that doesn't have your club shirt on it, you get it the fuck out of there, whether it's the ball, whether if it's an opposition player. I don't care what you do. Kovar is also a bit of a sweeper as well. And he's tall. He's just a big dude. Danny says he's one of their players of the season, VTech. All right, yeah, I'm definitely going to go see how VTech's going today, see what club he's at. I'm going to look him up real quick while we're live. So please like the video if you haven't yet, and subscribe if you are new. We are getting closer to the next milestone, which is 3K subscribers. I will do the giveaway tomorrow during our Europa League preview of the Victoria Plezan match, so be sure to stop back for that. If VTech is playing in any of the Europa League matches, I'm definitely gonna see what he's got. So he's in that Bundesliga now. He's not playing in Europe, is he? No. I will I'll look and see some of those numbers and see how he's doing. They've only got a couple more seasons or a couple more matches left. They go to mid-March, it looks like. Interesting. Danny B says I'd give VTech a chance. I don't know if I would sell Onana and only stick with VTech. I would probably. This is where it becomes hard with young players and loans, right? At some point you have to kind of make a decision. Are they good enough or are they not good enough? Because you don't want to keep them sitting on the bench. You don't want you'd rather have them go out and loan if it means they're going to be playing more and if they're too good for the academy. But at the same time, you get to a point like with VTech, like with Kovar, like with all these players, are they good enough? Do we keep them here? And if we keep them here, are they going to play or are they just not going to play? There are a lot of players who've gone because they wanted more minutes than they were given. Like Angel Gomez wanted to play more. Jose wasn't up for it, and that's what happened. It happens. And so is VTech good enough to come back and replace him? I don't know yet. I'm not saying I've seen him and I don't know. I'm saying I haven't watched him enough. I haven't been paying enough attention to VTech, but that will change because I will go check it out and see how he's doing. United TV says, I don't think United will sell Rashford to an English club. I don't think we would. Out of the Premier League, those are the only two clubs I can think of that maybe he could go in and do something that could maybe be interested in making that move. I don't think he's going to go to Liverpool. I don't think he's going to go to City. City might not even be in the Premier League. Hopefully, fingers crossed, right? So I could definitely see Todd Boehly putting in an offer, and I could see him fitting in at Arsenal on that left-hand side, but I don't think he would go to a Premier League rival. I wouldn't want to sell him to a Premier League rival either. I would have preferred Sancho to go back to Dortmund than to go to Chelsea, but it is what it is. But I do agree. I don't think he would. Danny says there might be no choice if no one else is interested. Yeah, I mean, and like Rich says, you don't want to strengthen your rivals, but we did that with Sancho. I mean, we did it with. I mean, could you? We let Mkhitaryan go to Arsenal, and we brought Alexis Sanchez. I mean, maybe both clubs lost out on that deal, um, but it's just you never know. I don't know. I don't think we've had enough experience with Ineos to know what they would or would not do in that case. Would it be a case of just let him go, get him off the books, and we don't care, or what? But yeah, there's always that risk when you sell to a rival that they're gonna, go and do well and make you look an idiot and makes it look like a bad decision. Personally, once they're sold, I'm like, I don't care anymore. It is what it is. I don't think that it's easily transferable just to go from one club to another. It's a completely different coach, completely different tactics system, teammates, all that plays into it. And so I think that's why you constantly hear me say it's not just about different club, it's about would the clubs be a good fit. Like I don't think we would sell him to Arsenal, Rich, but I do think that of the Premier League clubs that he could maybe in fantasy world go to, Arsenal would be a good fit for his profile, the way they play, the way he plays, the position they have. Arsenal haven't really gotten that left wing right. I don't think that Trossard is good enough. I don't think that Martinelli's good enough. I'm not saying Rashford's better than either of them, but I'm just saying that's the only thing I see. Danny B says he was injured a little bit of his little back now. Vitek or Rashford? Vitek. It's got 2 years left after this season. All right, we're gonna go look and see. Lionhearts wants to know if Ericsson and Co are dropping by for the giveaway. We will see. I did check with Dylan earlier. I texted him. Dylan's a teacher, so he's busy most of the day. But I did see he probably will not be able to. He's got a lot of stuff going on this weekend. But the giveaway will be tomorrow, so he's not going to be able to drop by tomorrow anyway. So, but no, next time I always try to get more people involved. So it's always nice to have more people, but we will see. It'll be tomorrow virtual. So. But yeah, he does this just like Ericsson doesn't. It's so funny. The next question is, so who do you bring in to replace Rashford, right? We no longer really have a system under Ruben Amorim that uses wingers who kind of focus on the attacking part of things. We don't have the wingers, or even, Rashford's not really a traditional winger, but we don't have a system that plays that way with our wide players. The wide players really need to have pace. They need to have stamina. They need to be selfless, and they need to have the mentality and the intrinsic motivation to put in a hard shift on and off the ball. We've seen Ahmad pretty much cover box to box on that wide area. He drops back to get involved on our edge of the box. He's getting the ball into the box. I don't think we're seeing as much of him in the final third as we used to when he was more of a winger, but we'll see. But I think that it just depends on what you think Rashford is in the system. If we sell him, what do we replace? He has been used kind of in one of those number 10 roles. Obviously, he's used as a 9 in Amorim's first match, but that was because Højlund was just back from international duty. So he's kind of been used as one of those 10s. He and Xerxes were kind of in that. You could almost in that situation call Xerxes the false 9 and Rashford like one of a 2 ahead of him kind of a thing in some ways. So do we replace him with someone who plays in a wide position? Do we look at someone who's in like one of those 10 positions? You guys let me know. Danny says, Chirke, yeah. Remember, Chirke was featured in my January bargain video. He was the one player in that video that wasn't going to be available on a free in the summer, but I put him in that video because of the complete shit show that Lyon are right now. They're facing 500 million debt. They're facing a transfer ban. They're facing a provisional relegation right now if they can't balance their books. So they need to sell players. That club might have to just completely start from scratch. They're going to lose a lot of people. They've got a lot of players like Lacazette and whatnot who are probably on bigger wages. There are a couple players at that club that I would easily go and take off their hands. We could go get Maxence Kakare to come fill in midfield. We can go get Rayan Cherki to come fill in one of those number 10s kind of a situation. I think that would solve a couple of our problems right away for relatively cheap. Danny says, yeah, Mastantuono and Nipan, both other players that I featured in that January video because they both are going to be out of their season's end. I think Nipan's season already ended. Mastantuono's got another couple matches, I think. So their seasons will be done in January. They're players we've been linked to. They represent the kind of profile that we've been looking at. Young, exciting, promising, attacking, energetic, creative players. they can make a lot of sense for us. Now, whether or not they're coming and start right away is another question, but that's where guys like Chirke, Maxence Kakare, those kind of guys, Jonathan David as well, who I've talked about yesterday, we were linked with. He's also in my video for January bargains. He'll be free in the summer. Lionheart says, "Ooh, what's the Ajax book behind you?" What's the which one? I gotta look now. Other side. Oh, there's so many. I don't know. Point out which one. Which shelf is it on? Oh, there's so many here. This is so funny. Oh, this one from Simon Cooper. This is Ajax, the Dutch, the War. It's by Simon Cooper. I got a lot of books. I always forget. There's so much stuff back here. Obviously, I'm a bit of a book nerd. This is like all the footy books. The other side is like, I've got another one of these big shelves on the opposite side of the room, so it's a bit intense. Danny says, or use that money to put towards Gyökeres. We could use the money from Rashford to go towards Gyökeres, but then what do you do with Xerxes? That's the thing. I mean, it's there's a balance between like best in position versus balancing the finances, right? So to me, like what makes more sense? Like a Xerxes like swap-ish deal for like someone like Jonathan David who will be free, or selling Rashford and getting Gyökeres, and you still got Xerxes kicking around and that you have to find a use for. Like it's hard. I don't envy, owners, CEOs, directors of football, and managers in that regard, because there's not like a perfect solution to a lot of these problems. Lionheart says, I do have a soft spot for Ajax. I have a little bit of a soft spot for Ajax. If you guys have been following the channel, you see me wear my Ajax jersey a couple times. I was a big fan of Ten Hag's Ajax, just his whole tactics and the way they played and the way they performed in the Champions League as well. I do like them because of just the culture of that club, the way they bring in the youth, the mindset, obviously the history, the legs. They are to me like a legacy club in terms of European prestige and stuff. I do have a soft spot for Ajax. Plus, I watch a lot of footy from a lot of different leagues, and the Dutch league is also usually ripe with talent. The Belgian league is the same way. There's a lot of South American leagues, but there's a couple of Ajax books back here as well. If I took the time to look through them, I'd probably find them. I don't want to take too much of a distraction from it, but Danny B says, if Xerxes don't work out in the 10, sell him. Yeah, did we buy Xerxes to play the 10? That's my question. We were looking at two strikers when we signed Højlund. We only got Højlund. And then we buy Xerxes when we already had Bruno, we already had Eriksson, we already had Mount and everybody. So did we buy Xerxes to play as a 10? He came into this interview talking about being a 9.5. Did we buy him to be a 9.5? I can't believe we did that. To me, he's a different profile of striker who can receive the ball a little deeper and do something with it, whereas Højlund is someone who's going to be running off the shoulder into space a little bit. And so I don't see Xerxes as a 10 personally. Obviously, that's probably where he'll play in this system, but again, we didn't buy him for Ruben Amorim unless that was the plan all along. We bought him under Erik ten Hag, and so that plays into it as well. Lionheart says, I would sell Xerxes over Rashford. I might sell both, honestly. Danny B says, same Lionhearts have a couple of their jerseys. Yeah, the guy who, when I was with Livonia City FC, the semi-pro club, one of the CEOs that's his team, Ajax. He loves Ajax to death, and so I think that comes to do with like this guy. So this guy's been in charge of a couple different clubs at this level. The guy at Livonia City. So I think there is a kind of like a small kind of grassroots kind of player culture focused kinship there, if that makes sense. I was hoping that my last layover in Amsterdam was long enough that maybe I could go swing by the Johan Cruyff Arena and take a couple photos but the layover is only like an hour. I don't have time. So Danny B says that the black one with the Jamaican colors, I have favorite jersey in a while. Yes. So the one I have is from the 15-16 season. It's the away one. It's like the gray with like the sky blue stripes, and it's got like the 3 X's, like the mark of the Saints kind of thing on the chest. I have to explain to so many people like this. That's not a porn thing. the 3 X's was around long before all that started. It's all over architecture and stuff in Amsterdam and whatnot. Lionheart says, I love the black jersey from 3 years back. I can never get a hold of it. You probably find some online. If you go to GoGoalShop, you might be able to find it, man. Go to GoGoalShop. Use the code in the description to register. You never know what you might find on there. Using the code does get you $5 off. Um, so on the Rashford situation, we're talking about who do you get to replace him and stuff. What kind of profile do you look? Danny threw out Shirky. I love Shirky. I think Shirky can get him for a bargain because Lyon are kind of in free fall right now. I saw a report this morning from Give Me Sport that claims that Ademola Lookman at Atalanta, he's keen on a return to England. He's 27, so same age, so he's got experience as well. Obviously, Atalanta had a really good season last year. He is a goal scorer. The guy scores a lot of goals, and he also plays where we would need him to play. If you look at Atalanta, they play a couple different structures, but most of the time he is either on that left wing or he will play as one of the 10s when they play like a 3-4-2-1. So basically, same player as Rashford. I would think that Lookman in the last couple of years has been the better player if you're looking at form and numbers and everything. But Danny says, yeah, you'll probably find it on that jersey site Sean referred to in the channel, GoGoal. Yeah, it's GoGoalShop is the thing. But yeah, the link is in the description. You could check it out. I'll spend a lot of time on eBay like this. Obviously, training shirt, eBay. It's not that I'm cheap, right? When I know that if I spend a little bit of time on eBay that I can find something for a lot cheaper than you're going to find on the club site, I'll just do that. Like, it's just hard for me to spend $100 some odd on a jersey when I know it's like players. It's hard for me to spend $100 on one player when I know as a club you could get like 4 players for that if you do some scouting. Danny says no to Lookman. Oh, why is everyone hating on Lookman? I'm not saying I want him. I'm just saying he's out there. He plays the same position. Would you guys take him? It sounds like you guys are running away from Lookman. Are you guys still remembering from when he was here before in the Premier League? Let me know why you don't want Lookman. I think Kvaratskhelia would probably be the ideal replacement if you wanted to not only replace Rashford but maybe upgrade. I think Kvaratskhelia is probably one of the best in that position right now. I think he suits the system better. I think he's better than Rashford in those tight areas. He's a selfless creator. He was constantly looking for Osimhen during Napoli's big run a couple seasons back. I think he's better personally. Ferda Edwin, welcome to the channel, my friend. With the news of Rashford being reported by 2 different journalists today, with Ashford leaving, I wonder if these are related. The juxtaposition of all the Ashworth, the Rashford, all this stuff that's been going on, especially in relation to that Forest result, it's all crazy. Now, I think the media will make more out of the timing of all that than there really is, but it is something, right, that does stick out, that does raise a couple eyebrows. Like this, there's a lot going on. Under the old regime, I think we would all definitely have looked at it like the club's trying to like control a narrative, kind of control the fan base a little bit within the mood atmosphere. I think the old regime, we say that. Whether or not that's what Ineos are doing, it's anyone's guess because they haven't been here long enough for us to really have a good sample size of this kind of behavior. I think so far they're probably in the negative for a lot of fans with some of the decisions that they've been made, canceling a lot of the perks, redundancies, the ticket prices for sure is a big strike against them and things. So it's interesting, and they haven't really shown that they maybe have the best decision making with the Ten Hag and now the Ashworth situations as well. But it is what it is. Ferda, Rashford is a huge character. Thoughts? Yeah, you guys let Ferda know your thoughts. We've spent the better part of the 45 minutes or so talking about Rashford. We're now getting into some of the news and talking a little bit about who we might replace Rashford with if we were to sell him. I was sharing the news that Ademola Lookman might be looking for a new club, and some of you guys clearly are not a fan of Ademola Lookman. I threw out Kvaratskhelia in terms of improving on Rashford, one of the best in class in that position. Danny says Cunha. Yeah, we mentioned Cunha a couple of times. We were linked to him before he went to Wolves, back when he was still at Atletico Madrid. Cunha obviously plays in that position at Wolves, and he's done really well. He's a tireless, selfless runner. He's a worker. Wolves are not doing so hot. There's a couple players at Wolves I think a lot of us would take. I'd probably take Nori. I'd probably take Cunha. I'd definitely take João Gomez. You guys let me know what you're looking at. But yeah, big up. Thank you, Danny, for putting out the welcome wagon as always. Lionheart says, I just don't rate him, and I definitely don't think he's a United player, but at the same time, I also thought that about Saha. So yeah, it's hard. You never know if someone's going to work out. I think that we definitely need to look at replacements, right? And so you keep getting your picks in. What was the report on Rashford? That's what we were talking about earlier, man. It came from a couple different journalists. Let me scroll back up to give a quick recap here. But it came from Florian Plettenberg and Luke Edwards with the Telegraph today that United are open to selling Rashford at the latest by the summer. He could be sold in January, is the report. The wages, the high salary, they're looking at PSR and stuff and getting that salary and getting all profit, kind of like McTominay, getting him off the books would be a big help. And then Luke Edwards has also added later that the club were actually opening to selling Rashford in this past summer as well. So that's the reports that we're all talking about today. So Database says we were linked in before Xerxes to start the summer. You talking about Cunha? Yeah, I think the more that clubs struggle with relegation, the more likely and more possible it is to maybe make a swoop. Especially if these clubs do get relegated. Yes, they get parachute payments, but having a little bit of help by selling, and some of these players are going to have relegation clauses in their contract. Xherdan Shaqiri had it when he was at Stoke. When they got relegated, he was allowed to leave. There was like a clause in there. So it is what it is. But you guys let me know. In some other bit of transfer news, so the Patrick Dogu rumors have picked up again. Graham Bailey has added some of that today. He's claimed that our scouts believe Patrick Dogu will be an outstanding fit for Ruben Amorim and his system. So he's Danish, 20-year-old. He's attracting a lot of interest around Europe, Dorgu, including United. He's had some really good games this season. Now, the interesting thing is about Patrick Dorgu is that he was a left back. He's been playing as a right-sided winger this season. Kind of like you guys remember how Gareth Bale started as a left back at Southampton and became a really good right winger. I don't know if that's going to be a permanent thing or if that's like an Archie Gray at Leeds thing where they moved him to midfield in the championship as opposed to, or no, they played him at a right back when he's really a midfielder kind of a thing. Archie Gray played the whole season for Leeds last year at right back, but he's kind of a midfielder. So is that a situation where Lecce are making do? Is that where he's going to be moving forward? He's got a couple of goals this season. Now that he's been moved further to the pitch, maybe that was just a bit of a masterstroke by Lecce, seeing the potential like Southampton, like Spurs, and moving him up to the top. Well, no worries, Lionheart. You can always go back and get the recap in the beginning too. I'm happy to give a quick recap if anyone comes in late. I can't do that for everybody who shows up late, but you are one of the regs, so I will help you out. Smart business, Dorgu. And yeah, and Dorgu, we've been linked to him for a while, since like late last season, and he does represent, again, that young, up-and-coming profile that we've been looking at under this new regime. It's with the position changes, it's anyone's guess what his best position is going to end up being. Obviously, he's having a very good season playing higher up on the right-hand side. Maybe that's what his position will be. Is that what we look at him and think? Or because we were linked with him when he was still playing left back, so who knows what the plan is there. But again, kind of like Gareth Bale, he moved from that left back to the right wing this season. We'll see what that happens. The hate, by the way, on Gareth Bale, the hate that Gareth Bale got from Madrid fans was a disgrace, by the way. How disgraceful was that? Lionheart says, Danny, are you a talent scout? You know all these young players. Yeah, Danny and I are very similar in that we do watch a lot of different leagues, and Danny and I will go back and forth on a lot of young players. Danny's very, 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 very experienced watching a lot of the South American players, which I don't watch a lot of them. I'll tend to lean more towards Belgian, Dutch kind of players in those leagues as well. But yeah, Danny's definitely got the eye for the talent ID. Danny, you should look into doing some PFSA stuff, man. So obviously I've got talent identification courses completed with the PFSA. Actually, I just got a certified membership with the PFSA. So it's Professional Footballers Scouting Association. So a couple years ago, I did level 1, level 2 talent ID. Then I did a data analysis. I'm probably going to go do some opposition analysis courses with them as well. But I just got the membership. They had a big sale going on. So I thought, maybe this is the time to finally get the membership to the PFSA. So that got the confirmation email from that today. So that's doing, obviously, I'm also doing the course, the football psychology, emotional intelligence course with the PFA as well right now. I've got my next class on Thursday for that one, literally same time as kickoff again. So I'm going to have 2 laptops here going, one with the game, one with the course. I'm going to have to try to control myself if we score or if somebody makes a huge error. But Yeah, Danny, you should definitely look into it, man. It's pretty fun. So the level 2 course is pretty cool. You get to a point where they actually want you to watch matches, and like I think I watched like a PSG versus Barca match, and I was scouting like Pedri. I had to do like a report, like an actual scouting report on Pedri for that match, and write the whole full report up and stuff. So it's really cool what they do. I think that it appeals to me, obviously, looking at the football psychology and what they teach you a lot in the talent ID courses is things to look at, like personality, mentality stuff when it looks at young players in terms of how they handle mistakes, setbacks, things like that. So obviously there's a bit of overlap there between the football psychology and the talent identification. I've got a lot of books back here on scouting as well. I've got one by my bed right now called The Anatomy of a Scout. Really cool books. Obviously, it's something I'm really into, but Danny's definitely got the good talent ID as well, so it's pretty cool. Danny says, harder to watch South American leagues now. It's not on being as much. There were some of them that were on, like Boca and whatnot, used to be on Paramount, but everything keeps changing. Every year it's something different. Like the championship used to be on ESPN Plus. Now it's on Paramount Plus. It's getting really annoying to try to keep track of all this stuff. But Ferda says, how did you get started with the PFFA? So I got started I did a video once on mentality and stuff. And then part of that the research for that video, I stumbled across some stuff with Phil Jones. So Phil Jones did a video as well last month or so, a month before, talking about some of his struggles. And so I thought, like, what's Phil Jones up to? Phil Jones is actually involved with the PFA. He's doing his coaching badges, and part of the coaching badges course is doing this 10-month course with the PFA on football psychology and emotional intelligence and leadership. And so I found out, that's what Phil Jones is doing. And so I looked that up. The PFA does it through the University of Portsmouth, the business school. And so I was like, this course sounds really cool. So I applied for the course, because I am a mental health professional. I'm a psychologist. I'm a therapist. I see clients on a regular basis. So I have experience there. I've got a sports psychology certification as well that I got a couple years ago. So it's a big part of my interest in the side of the sport. And so I thought, I'm going to look into this course. I applied. Now, I wasn't sure if I was going to get in. I'm American. I don't live in the UK. I don't have experience as a professional player or a coach. I had to have a virtual meeting with the head of the PFA. And he met with me because I sent him my CV, and he was like, your CV is all over the place, man. You were a board member on a semi-pro club. You've got all these certificates with the PFSA and sports psychology. Like, he was like, I had to just see if you were a real person, basically. So we met, talked for like a half hour or so, and I got the approval. And so the classes meet. It's really cool. For me, they're all virtual. So the first course was like 8 hours long. Graham Potter came in and talked for a little bit. There are some players and coaches in the course as well. I don't want to reveal too much of the details, but it's pretty cool. It's been pretty interesting so far. So it's been pretty cool. Yeah. Lionheart says, oh, nice. Yeah, Danny, Fubo. Yeah, I've done the Fubo thing now and then. It's hard to decide what's cheaper in the long run, a Fubo or like Paramount, Peacock, and like ESPN. ESPN Plus, I think I got because of the bundle with like Hulu and Disney, and I am a big Marvel nerd, so that probably clinched it for me. But in any case, you guys let me know your thoughts on Rashford. Would you sell him? Would you not? How much do you want him to get for him? What's the fair price? Who would you replace him with? Danny threw out Cunha. I suggested Kvaratskhelia at Napoli. I think that he is ready for a move. He's going to be a little more expensive. I think that Cunha is, depending on what happens with the Wolves, Cunha could be expensive as well. I think if Wolves they struggle. I think that if Wolves, I don't even remember where they're at right now. Last time I checked, they were down. I want to say it's like 19th, 18th in the table where Wolves are, but they are struggling. If they get relegated, they're definitely going to be losing some talent because there's no way they're going to hold on to these players if they get relegated. Yeah, Wolves are in 19th on 9 points, so they are 4 points behind safety right now. Crystal Palace are in 17th with 13th. Wolves have only 2 wins all season, 10 losses. It's not looking good. Get Cunha for 50 if they go down. Yeah, we should be. I mean, if we could throw them a player too, maybe as well. Maybe if there are players that aren't going to fit anymore, maybe we'll see if they want someone like Shaw or something. Danny, like I said, that's what I did in my manager career last night. As I threw Luke Shaw and some cash at Wolves and got João Gomez to come in and basically be my starter next to Ugarte, and while Manu continues to develop a little bit. And I got Nipan in January. I did buckle and get Alphonso Davies. I thought that my career mode could use like a big statement signing. And then I got that Baris Yilmaz guy from Galatasaray, and I gave them Tyrell Malacia and a little bit of cash for Yilmaz because I think Malacia would do good at Galatasaray. But Danny would take 35, 40 million for Rashford. Is that what you would want just to get rid of him, or is that what you think is a fair price for that? But you guys let me know. That is the news on Rashford. I was really glad to get you guys' thoughts on that. Obviously, a big bit of news. Who knows what's going to come out tomorrow? It's been day after day of freaking news with United since the result on the weekend. But that is going to be it from me. I can hear one of my dogs barking because they can hear me, but they can't get up here and see me, so they're wondering where I am. But I'm going to go. Danny says that's a fair price. Hey, fair play, man. You are the technical director and the scout for our imaginary team here. So, but it's always good to get everyone's thoughts and everyone's opinions. That's why we're here. And that's what gets us to 2K. We did reach that mark. So keep liking the videos, keep subscribing, and keep hitting that notification bell. Get involved. I will do the giveaway winner announcement on the preview of Thursday's Europa League match. So that'll become tomorrow. It's either going to be tomorrow afternoon or the evening, depending on the presser. I usually wait until the press conferences ahead of the matches so I have a bit more information to talk about. But we'll see when that presser goes live, and then I'll put that together and we'll do that. But be sure to come out. Danny says, big clear out coming. We'll see. We have a lot of players who need to go. We could talk a little bit about that in the future as well. But Ferda, great show. Have a good one. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thank you for coming and checking out the channel. I do appreciate it. I do love seeing new faces and everything. So come back again. Get involved. Check out the giveaway winners. Get involved in the chat and everything. If you weren't able to catch the live, leave a comment. Please like the video, subscribe. I will be back tomorrow to get your thoughts on Thursday's match in the Europa League, because we do need 3 points. We know Amorim rotates. How much should we rotate? We've got a big game at the weekend coming up, Manchester Derby. Does that play into it? We'll talk about all that and more. Danny, thank you for always making everyone feel welcome, my guy. I do appreciate that. It does help the channel as well, man. Just trying to have a good little atmosphere and a good little family thing here. Lionhearts, as always, good to see you. Glad to see everyone. Take it easy. Take care. Enjoy your day. I will see you guys on the next one. Later.